Hey guys, as usual, please like and subscribe, share the content if you like it with your friends. That really helps the channel out. And if you've been watching my videos and you're not subscribed, which I've noticed a lot of people are, please click that button. It just alerts you if there's a new video, and it really helps the channel out just to reach a wider audience. Anyway, so let's get into this. So I didn't do this until today because I wanted to sort of see the reaction on Twitter and all that stuff about this. J.J. Abrams basically saying they had no plan for Star Wars, and people say, "Oh, well, yeah, they did." And, the apologists have come out and da. So I wanted to just wait a bit, and now I kind of want to look at the actual quotes from Abrams himself. So this is LRM Online. I mean, there's so many articles about this. This is just the one I happened to click on. I just wanted to get his actual quote because somebody was arguing, well, he didn't say that the Star Wars series didn't need a plan. He just said that when you're doing an episodic movie series, you should have a plan. To which my response was, well, that's what Star Wars is. So whether he uses the term Star Wars or not, it pretty much is the same thing. It's an episodic movie series, right? Anyway, so let's read the exact quote. This is J.J. Abrams himself. I've been involved in a number of projects that have been in most cases series that have ideas that begin the thing where you feel like you know where it's going to go. And sometimes it's an actor who comes in, other times it's a relationship that as written doesn't quite work, and things that you think are going to just be so well received just crash and burn. And other things that you think like, oh, that's a small moment or it's a one episode character suddenly becomes a hugely important part of the story. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with him there. That's 100% true. I feel like what I've learned as a lesson a few times now, and it's something that especially in this pandemic year working with writers has become clear. The lesson is that you have to plan things as best you can, and you always need to be able to respond to the unexpected, and the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. Now, notice he says, I feel like what I've learned as a lesson a few times. Now remember, what other big budget box office series has he done work on? Think Star Trek. The thing that's funny about that is he says he's had to learn the lesson a few times now. Well, that means you didn't learn it. You're just now realizing after a few times that you've learned it. Because if you'd have learned it the last time or the last few times, you'd have done it, right? And that's the issue. There are projects that I've worked on where we had some ideas, but we hadn't worked through them enough. Oh, we got a dog barking in the background. Sorry, guys. That's the neighbor's dog. Oh, anyway, sorry. I've worked on some ideas, but we hadn't worked through them enough. Sometimes we had some ideas, but then we weren't allowed to do them the way that we wanted to. I've had all sorts of situations where you plan things in a certain way, and then you suddenly find out doing something that's 180 degrees different, and then sometimes it works really well, and you feel like, wow, that really came together, and other times you think, oh my god, I can't believe this is where we are. And sometimes when it's not working out, it's because it's what you planned, and other times when it's not working out, it's because you didn't have a plan. You just really never know, but having a plan, I have learned, in some cases the hard way, is the most critical thing, because otherwise you don't know what you're setting up. You know what to emphasize, you don't know what to emphasize, because if you don't know the inevitable of the story, you're just as good as your last sentence, sequence or effect or joke or whatever, but you want to be leading to something inevitable. Exactly. And that's what I'm experiencing. And I used to write a lot of stories when I was a kid, and I was really into writing even as I got older. But this sequel sort of reimagined project that I've been working on, at the very beginning, I had a plan at the end of what this is all going to lead to. And I think that's the biggest problem with the Star Wars sequels, is they didn't have a plan of what everything would lead to. What is the end supposed to look like? They just made it up as they went along. And so I know, and of course I'm not going to reveal this now, but I know exactly how Episode 9 in my rewrite is going to end. I know who the players are. I know what they're going to be doing. I know where they're going to be at that point mentally, with the Force, whatever they believe in it. I know exactly where they're going to be. Now, along the way, and I had a basic outline of the ending of each of the three movies, the beginning of each of the three movies, and the middle, the Act 2. So but that doesn't mean I haven't changed things along the way. In fact, I've had ideas come up while I was editing video clips in my mind, and I went, oh my goodness, like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. Let's change that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And nobody's saying that's not something you do. In fact, George Lucas, of course, did that exact same thing. He added stuff from, lines that the actors wanted to change. He added new ideas. The Luke, I'm Your Father was obviously a different idea. He obviously had other writers that were helping him, of course. But, it's nice to see JJ admit this, but at the same time, it's like, would have been nice for you to do that at the beginning instead of ruining a Star Wars trilogy that had the potential to be absolutely phenomenal and had the potential to be the best Star Wars trilogy, in my opinion, with the characters they had and stuff. Which is exactly why I changed it, and I'm still using all the same characters because the concepts were there. Now, I just want to address one last thing here about George Lucas. The other argument I'm seeing on Twitter today a lot from people is, oh, well, he didn't plan out the original trilogy either. He didn't plan it out. And my answer to that is, people are arguing. First, let me just say, people are arguing on Twitter back and forth of how much he planned and how much he didn't plan and whether he just rushed it or what he did. My take on that is, guys, I don't care. I don't care whether he planned it or not. Let's say he didn't plan it. The movies and the story is good. And if Disney could have made the sequel trilogy, if Lucasfilm could have made the sequel trilogy unplanned as they did, and it turned out good, then it turned out good. But it didn't. And JJ in this interview is acknowledging that it didn't, because if it did, he wouldn't even be saying these things. Right? Nobody would care. Nobody would be wondering whether or not it was planned. He's saying that because he knows that the films have not been received well. And that's okay if you like them. But that's what he's saying. So whether or not George planned it out, I don't care, quite frankly, because the movies were good. The prequels, not as good as the original trilogy, but the story carried properly. So you had cringy moments, you had bad dialogue, you had Jar Jar Binks, you had some stuff that was stupid, you had some continuity issues, which I've mentioned in the past with different characters and stuff like that. However, and those things do bother me, that's why I don't think the prequels are as good as the originals, but at least the overall story played out. Whereas with the sequels, well, and George had an ending, right? The ending was that Anakin becomes Vader, so that was already there. How much planning he did, we could debate on the prequels as well, but he definitely had an end goal, as I said at the very beginning with my rewrite, is that I knew where the ending was going to be at the end of the trilogy. I know what's going to happen. I knew that from the very beginning. I had it set up. So he had a destination, and he went to that destination. The sequels did not have a destination. They had no road. It was just wherever it ends, wherever it lands, throw the dart, and wherever it lands, right? And that's where they just totally missed the boat. If there was an end game, even if they had planned even as simply as this is the ending to these films, that would have made having the two directors, at least they would have they know where this is going to go, so therefore they can write the characters and the scenes and stuff, as a road to that final destination. But they didn't. And then the fact that Trevorrow wrote his, and then he got the boot, and they brought JJ back, and blah, 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 all that proves that they didn't have an ending planned out for any of the films, let alone the overall trilogy's final end. And that's very disappointing. But, I mean, at least he's admitting it. He's admitting it, so whatever, but too little too late. And this is why I say it. I'll say it again. I've said it like a broken record 1,000 times. Decanonize these movies. These movies are doing an injustice to this IP. They are not very good. In fact, they're quite terrible. They don't make sense. They don't flow one to the other nicely at all. It's very you from one to the other. It's totally different. It just doesn't flow. So that's what I would like to see happen. Write in the comment section if you'd like to see these things just tossed and just redo them. Because they're bad movies. Let me know. And yeah, as usual, guys, like and subscribe. Please share this stuff and have a really good day.